Yeah.
What's going on, X-Men fans? I hereby declare this council meeting of the Council of X in session. Tonight we are joined by Mike from Lunch Money Comics. We've got first-time council member Bruce from Up North Comics. We've got Chris from Cheddar Comics. Dan from Dan's X-Men Comics on IG. And then we've got Josh from Sasquatch Comicx on IG as well. What's going on, guys?
Still there.
Happy to be
Great
here.
to be here again. Oh yeah.
Still basking in the glory.
Yeah.
So it's been a big week for X-Men. We were already getting well into it in backstage before we started. I don't see anybody in the chat yet, so it might just be the six of us talking tonight here. But
That's fine.
I'm sure people will join us eventually, and of course, this is always great to watch on the rewind. So, guys, let's jump into a little X-Men 97 talk. It's been kind of the big topic on comic YouTube this past week. Lots of good feedback. How did each of you? What was your first impressions of the two episodes that dropped? How did it make you feel? Give us a recap. Start off with Dan.
Oh man. Okay.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah. Well, I had to watch it a little later because I was on vacation with my family, but I was able to watch it a few days ago. Both I watched the first episode one day and then watched the second one. I just completed it. Gosh, I think it was yesterday I finished it. And I mean, I had heard the reviews were good, and I felt like it made all of the character. It made me care about every character, nearly. By that I mean mostly. What up, Eric? Mostly, Cyclops blew me away. It really made me feel like I cared about him. You can understand where he's coming from, and another thing that one of my first impressions was this is like a telenovela, this is a soap opera, and I was hanging on every word of it, and it's definitely got some rewatchability because it does pace, even though there's not a whole lot of action. There's generally one fight scene per episode. The pacing is so it moves along so quickly, and so much seems to happen, and you learn so much about every character. I was just blown away by the storytelling.
Yeah.
Josh, what did you think?
Oh man, I totally got to experience X-Men 97 on a Wednesday evening with my daughter, and got to see it through her eyes and the excitement through her eyes. And I got to tell you, with my heart in my hands, I was so nervous, existentially nervous, that Marvel, the MCU wasn't going to get the X-Men right. They got it right. And it gives me a lot of hope for just what's in store for X-Men as they come to live action and yeah, just to see it through her eyes. She followed along. She got the impact of what the X-Men represent. And then, Storm being this icon already in her life and my life and all, just that Omega level. And then we both cried. It was beautiful. It was so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of hope for what's to come. And my only gripe, right? I know we don't want to gripe too much, is that it didn't happen at 9 a.m. Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I heard somebody say the same thing, that they wish they would have launched it Saturday mornings, just so that you can go back and do it all again, like the old days. That would have been fun. That would have been a fun idea if they did that.
Definitely agree.
Bruce, give us an X-Men annual Saturday episode.
Yeah,
it would be nice. Bruce, what did you think?
All right. When it came out that Wednesday, I instantly was like, my son is 2, and I was like, you need to go to bed right now or take a nap so I can watch this. So I watched the first episode, a little distracted at times, so I had to rewatch it, and I loved it. The animation is just perfect. It really was. It blew my mind. So many things just happened in both episodes. It was like mind blowing. You know, when Storm lost her powers, I was just like, wow. Like, why would Storm save herself for Magneto? And then you saw that, you know, Magneto got to touch Rogue, and I was like, it's not supposed to happen. Not supposed to touch him or her. And then the ending of the second episode, I was just like, it just blew my mind. It was incredible. So I can't wait for more.
There will be spoilers, folks. If
I was going to say that, but it's kind of a given. I mean,
it is.
You're watching the wrong show if you haven't watched X-Men 97 yet.
But yeah, just overall, as a new guy, you know, I grew up collecting and, you know, watching X-Men, but as a new person coming in, it just makes me more excited to grab X-Men books and, you know, jump in with it. And I'm just really excited. The only gripe I have is that they're only releasing one episode at a time. That's it.
And I want to touch on all those points that you were making.
Oh yeah, we'll circle the wagons. Circle the wagons. Yeah. Initial thoughts. I want to get everybody's initial take. So, Chris, what was your thoughts on?
I definitely had, you know, for any project that comes out now, I have basement level expectations. I'm expected to be disappointed, and that keeps me safe and it protects my heart from heartbreak. And I mean, I was just blown away by the animation style, how much Claremont X-Men it felt like both episodes.
Yep.
And my sister and I like the X-Men since we were kids, and we've been rewatching all of the X-Men movies. We only have Dark Phoenix left, so I've been with those movies for the last couple months, and I'm just like, oh my god. So then to be with this show like 4 times, 2 episodes 2 times, I was like, these are the characters. This is them. This is their story. It was so dense but easy to like consume, you know, for someone who's been watching it for 30 years or someone who's watching it for the first time. I thought my wife has never seen the old show, and she loved it. You know, at the end of the second episode, she was like, what is that? You know, or when the Magneto like Rogue stuff, she's like, what about Gambit? You know, what's going on with him?
Yeah.
You know, so I thought it was, I couldn't believe how good it was. I was like, this is like a phenomenal feat that they pulled off. I don't know how they did it.
Yeah.
So good. Mike, what was your first thoughts?
Well, when we're going to break it down, I have a list of pros and cons here. But my initial thoughts are, listen, I usually watch things like late at night by myself, and I'm dead silent, even when I like something. I waited for my kids to get home, and this is the first show of anything or movie I've seen probably since Endgame where I audibly yelled at some of the awesome moments. I was, listen, guys, it would have had to be really bad for me to be disappointed. I was just happy just seeing it again. And I had a feeling it was going to be good, but come on. There was parts of that I literally went, are you kidding? Like, I tried not swearing. Both my kids, my son knows a lot about X-Men, my daughter not so much, both turned to me like, I didn't know they could do that. I'm like, oh, they can do that in the comic book, man. My daughter's like, is Storm really that powerful? She's not in the movies. I'm like, I know. That's why the movies suck. But yeah, my initial thoughts were I was completely blown away. Perfect. It was perfect.
Amazing. So, Eric, last first impressions.
Well, I was watching it. I kept comparing it to the old stuff. Now, the animation was a step up, so I was happy with that, but it still had that flavor, you know, it had that nod to the old stuff for the nostalgia. And I was really happy because I was a little, you know, I was kind of scared a little bit of, oh, what are they doing? Are they just kind of trying to capitalize on the nostalgia and just putting something out there? But I was pleasantly surprised that it was a lot of the same feelings. It was the serial type storyline where, you know, they give you those little tidbits for the next episode or for the longer stories, which was very Claremont, which was cool. I was surprised at a lot of stuff. Like I was surprised with the thing with Storm. I did not see that coming, you know, because it's like I'm trying to compare it to the actual comics too, because you know they put those little pieces in there, but it's like little bits of it, not following the same pattern. So I was just like kind of watching and being like, okay, they got this right. They're following the storyline a little bit, even though it's a little bit different. You know, they adapt it for this team. It was enjoyable. You know, it was one of those, I always go into them saying, okay, let's just not nitpick it. Let's just take it in and be entertained. And I was thoroughly entertained. And, you know, I watched it with my wife, who she has a loose understanding of the characters. And like when she sees Gambit, she's like, Gambit's punker? And I'm like, no, that's how Gambit used to be back in the day, is, you know, they had him to a T. And, you know, I got excited when Magneto came on screen and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, this is the Magneto that I like. You know, he has that tone. They had his tone. So I felt like they had the characters' tones for everybody, which was kind of cool. So
they did. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I echo a lot of what you guys are saying. You know, going into it, you know, I knew it was going to be good. Like Mike said, like they would have had to really drop the ball for me to truly dislike it. But you know, I had my reservations about certain things because I hold that original animated series so in such high regard. It's my first foray in X-Men. It kind of really formed a lot of my you know, my early love for X-Men. And I'm still of the opinion, like the best version of X-Men 97 is like carbon copy, exact continuation of the animated series from the 90s. And like, I knew it wasn't going to be exact carbon copy, but man, they did really, really good.
Really
I was blown away how good it was. I also thought it was an interesting experience watching it, as now, you know, when I watched the original series, I hadn't read the comic books. That was like those storylines that was my first introduction to those storylines. This time around, I have way more knowledge of the stories. I've read a lot of the Claremont era. I'm in the midst of finishing it. So now having this like inside knowledge of what the stories are like, it was so much fun going like, oh, I know where this is going. And then to realize how many storylines were set up in just 2 episodes, and like that the things that were pulled from the comics put into these 2 episodes, especially episode 2, was incredible. There's so many things where they're going to go with this. I thought that was such a cool experience as an older adult fan now with more knowledge about X-Men lore and X-Men history. Like I said, like I can get nitpicky. There's things like I could be like, I would have done this a little different. I would have done that. But overall, I was just like floored, loved it. And I think it's just such a great blueprint for Marvel Studios on how to treat things, whether it's X-Men or anything Marvel. Like, give people what they want, stay close to source material. You can veer off of it. You could do things that are going to help you do it in a motion or a live action format, but like just like appreciate it and treat that original source material like with respect and use it. I think that's a recipe for success. So I hope that they'll see the success of the show and they'll be like, all right, we know where we got to go with everything now. But anyways, yeah, it was awesome. I loved it.
If I can just echo what you said real quick, Ryan, I'm not getting my whole list, but the first thing I have on my list, I think we're all going to agree on it. The one really great thing the original series did was it captured the characters from the comic books. And the thing is, we always say this, it doesn't really matter the depiction on the screen when we see them. People change things all the time. It's not exactly how they look or act. But if you have the character nailed, then that's all you need. The original series did that. The fact that they carry that thread through, I think we all agree. Cyclops is pitch perfect. Magneto was perfect. Storm is perfect. Most of the characters are perfect. That's the blueprint. I don't even think that's a hard hurdle to go over when you're doing comic book adaptations. Just stay true to the character. Yes, you can change things like you said, Ryan, and slightly adapt them, but just stay true to the characters at heart, and you can't really go wrong.
Absolutely. And yeah, you're right. Like they really, I mean, they had it already from the original animated series, right? Like established characters. It wasn't a heavy lift, but you know how creatives and big money machines studios can get, right? And they just, luckily that didn't get in the way. They did the right thing. And, and then bringing back a lot of those voices is great, even though some of them are a little bit different or don't sound quite the same.
I was actually surprised at the Cyclops voice, how close they got to the original. That wasn't the original actor, and I was like, wait a second.
Yeah,
that is pretty darn close.
It was really good.
Really close, yep.
And then speaking of voices, there was the Wolverine voice and the Rogue voice. I know that those are the same voice actors. But there was a little bit that felt a little different.
About definitely
Rogue. 20 years older. What can you do?
Exactly. But I mean,
you gotta expect it.
I'm
right?
I am looking for bad stuff here.
The woman who does Storm, I hope she does that till she's 100 years old because she is perfect.
I could not.
Oh man, it's honestly, she's one of the ones that were most, in my mind, closest to what it used to be. And then surprisingly, like you said, Cyclops too felt like Cyclops from really with like almost unnoticeable.
He still felt like a dick.
But and Chet just said in the chat, like, he is badass in these first 2 episodes. And how they show, like how they utilize his power, like when they get blown out of the sky in the first episode, he uses his beams to like basically give him a superhero landing. When he bursts into that first scene in the Friends of Humanity warehouse, he uses his lasers to literally like pivot across the floor and stuff like that. Sick. Like that's stuff that doesn't even like register in the comics, but now you can see it in action. It's like, oh man, that is really cool.
I think he's done the airplane jump before. I think in the comics, I do have a gripe. That is my favorite part of the show, is him sliding around and moving, how cool he is, because he's cool. But if you literally read how his powers work, I don't know how that actually happens. Again, it's fake. It's fake. But, the idea is Isaac Newton might have something to say about the fact that every time he shoots the beam, he doesn't fly backwards at 1,000 miles an hour, so.
Yeah.
It's a different setting.
That's what I told my son. My son's like, how's that possible? Like, he must have a setting where he closes one eye, whatever. So it actually comes back. But it doesn't matter is the point, because it even surprised X-Men lovers. People who know how cool Cyclops is, that's why even I was kind of like, all right, you got me there. You got me. I did not expect that. That's pretty cool.
And since we're on the Cyclops talk, like I always used to, and everybody I know always was like, Cyclops and a bitch is like synonymous. But like in this episode, or like in this series, like I don't know if it's just because I'm older and I have more lived experiences and I can relate to him and like his internal battle between like doing what's right and then doing what he wants for his family is like, you just really can relate to the guy or like just understand his struggle that he's going through.
I didn't really care for Cyclops too much, like when I watched the original episodes, but this one I'm like, he's so cool. Like he's the perfect leader, and I mean, he's still not my favorite character, but I'm anxious to see like his relationship with Wolverine as things move on too, because of the whole Jane situation. So
as a big Wolverine fan too, I am actually like totally chill with Wolverine taking like a backseat. Like Wolverine is not a main character so far, and it's like that's chill. Like save it because these other characters are shining so bright right now. Let's do it.
Yeah. The first season, Wolverine was kind of backseat, and second season, all the characters got their own episodes, so you're able to like bridge that world. Can't wait for the Wolverine episode, whether it comes. Probably not this season, but
you mean the first episode and second episode first episode as far as him taking a backseat?
Yeah, no,
right.
So I was going to bring up speaking of storylines, we and Cretan Bull, I saw your comment. We'll kind of address that maybe when we get into the Magneto storylines, but I really wanted to just touch on how we were talking about Storm is so badass. Like seeing her powers, like that scene when at the first episode when Cyclops like giving the weather report and then she walks in like, oh my god. So I was a little bit torn on the second episode when she gets hit with the blast, and clearly they're going to do the life. They've already released the names of the episodes. They're going to do some form of the life death storyline where Storm loses her powers, and and like that's a great story, and it's an awesome story in the comics that really develops Storm and shows how like sick she is just as a character outside of her powers. But that means we're gonna have like multiple episodes without that badass weather power, man. Like I'm torn on that because that scene was insane.
That's why they gave it to you.
So good.
They're like, we're getting her out of here. We're gonna give you like 3 badass scenes of her being Omega level mutant.
Yeah,
much.
But she's also, they do this all the time with characters in movies and TV shows. If they're too powerful, it's a problem, right? Because they can solve every problem, right? You see that, Vision's really powerful, well, stab him in the beginning of Infinity War and knock out his face. You know, like, they do that. Because if they're going to make her that powerful, as they should, they obviously she just steals the scene. Because the question, when she shows up, you're like, well, where was she for the first 5 minutes of the fight? Like, lead with that. You know, she turned the desert into glass. Why were you guys messing around with Master Mold at all? Like, just wait for Storm, you know?
They kind of made the Sentinels like absolute garbage in that first episode. Like they just like tuned them up. Like not even a problem. Not a problem.
Yeah. Ragdolls. Just like
Master Mold. Like I just read a few stories where he came back in the comics in the Claremont run, and he's like insane, and he merges with Nimrod, and he's like so hard to beat. And then, like, I watched that episode, and it's just like, I'm Master Mold, but done.
Decapitated, you're gone.
I hope they, at some point, give the Sentinels a little bit more strength. I don't know, like
a little bit more credit.
Just something that so that they're not just like, oh, like playing with stuffed animals out there, you know.
Yeah,
that's one of the things that I really love that they did in the show. One of the things about the X-Men teams that I think separates themselves from like the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, is how do they utilize their power sets together. And like that scene, like here's Wolverine getting his ass handed to him by Sentinels at the beginning. But you know, the charge up, and I love that we got that in the trailer. And then just the fastball special in a different iteration to just take out Master Mold can show you how they use their power sets. And in recent iterations of the comic books, like the Krakoa era, they really focused on how do we sync our powers and use them together. And New Mutants does it a really great arc in New Mutants, but also like the all the resurrection of Magneto, but before that, like Storm and Magneto using their powers together is just, it's incredible. So the promise that we're going to see that kind of fight highlight week in, week out. It's like prime Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Let's just get this one thing clear though. They should have just like the regular fastball special, because they should have Colossus in the and not for 2 seconds.
Here we go. Here we go. How long did that take? 25 minutes?
Here's my first gripe. So Morph is fighting the Executioner in the lobby of the UN, and clearly smart move, turn into Colossus. He's gonna dummy that guy. So he turns into Colossus for 2 seconds, then he decides to turn into Psylocke for like 15 seconds and just fight him with swords. Like, what are we doing here?
I enjoy that. I
will say, as my favorite character is not also not on this show, Ryan, I sympathize, but I love the way they use Morph to sprinkle in the other X-Men that should be on the team that we don't see. The fact that we saw Archangel and Psylocke and I mean, That's
Archangel
fun.
twice, back-to-back episodes.
And Blob too.
Blob.
Right.
Yeah, Blob became
a
a
very clever way to use him. My theory, we can go to the theory, but I think at the end of the season, we're going to see a lot more of the characters that we all. I think they're going to expand the team. I think
we definitely will see Nightcrawler because he was in the promo art that released like 2 years ago and stuff like that. So
They made a figure.
that'll be definitely really fun to see Nightcrawler come back.
Yeah,
I
I'm
agree.
excited for Forge and that storyline. And
Yeah.
also Cable. You know, I was like, oh, how are they doing his
Baby
origin
Cable, yeah.
story? But they're looks like they're gonna weave it back into Madeline Pryor and.
Well, yeah, that's another one that talking about stuffing all these storylines in at the end of the second episode.
That's right. Yeah.
The copy shows up at the door. Who's Jean Grey? Who's Madeline Pryor? I'm guessing the one that had Nathan is Madeline Pryor. If they
That's what I'm thinking too.
Right, but it's weird because she's been through 2 episodes full on Jean Grey with her power set, with her memories. She's having these. When she goes into Cerebro, she has that whole like premonition with the master mold. Like that's very all Jean feeling. So clearly they're going a little bit outside of what the Madeline Pryor Inferno story was, but it'll be interesting to see how they actually bring that together. We do know that Sinister is going to be a big part of this first season, so that definitely ties into that whole part.
I will say my daughter did not like that. When the other Jean Grey showed up, she's like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, one of them's a clone. And she got like a tear in her eye. She's like, I don't like that. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's good writing.
Yeah.
But man, it's crazy. Like all the storylines that they're gonna take us down is pretty awesome.
That'll be fun. Let me ask: was anybody else confused like I was every time that Morph changed into a?
Yes.
I was like, whoa!
It took me a little bit.
They didn't explain that.
Yeah,
And then I had to rewind it and see for the split second where you see Morph transform for the tiny bit.
That's what I had that same thing when he first turned into Angel in the first episode. I was like, Angel, where did that come from? And I had to like zip back. I was like,
it's corrected me. I said, where did Angel come from? Like Morph changed to him, Dad, you idiot.
So that's also an interesting thing about Morph is that he can transform into these characters and then still have the.
Yeah.
So he basically has everyone's power. Like that's also.
That's one of my gripes.
Yeah,
I thought that there was a thing about that though. From what I remember, they explained in the cartoon originally, like he can only have their power for like a short amount of time or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but there's limitations from what I remember.
There's gotta be.
Someone needs to sleuth that out because that's.
That's
he'd be like the most powerful mutant.
Exactly.
Yeah,
just turn into Magneto or Professor X or like anytime you need a specific thing, you just that guy is basically. Who needs the X-Men? You just need Morph.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because they even make a big deal about Mystique. They clarify she can turn into any person, but she can't. The only limitation she has, she can't mimic powers of mutants and stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she'd be overpowered. So the fact they give that to Changeling to me is a little.
But the one thing that has he turned into Colossus. He turned into Angel. He turned into Psylocke.
Wow.
Those are all. Oh, he did turn. Well, but he didn't use any powers with Professor X. In terms of like powers, the only powers he's actually used was Angel flying, but maybe just the fact that he's got wings means he can fly.
We'll use the Blob's power.
Again, it's kind of part of his physicality as opposed to like a power. You know what I mean? So maybe it's more of a physical thing. He could take on like physical traits, but he can't necessarily like. Well, he can't control weather if he's manipulating.
If it's all in our genes, right? So where's the source of power really come from to each mutant? I guess is the big question. So how is he utilizing the X gene in order to tap into those powers?
I think the chat has it right. I think it's just physical, right? Again, wings to me is a little bit of a stretch, but fighting ability. But
especially since they're kind of like they're not like his original wings. They're like the metal wings, which weren't his real wings. So I don't know. It's
and you could explain it anyway. Like just like a D&D rule. Like you can use this spell for one turn and then you can't use it for the rest of the day. So
and I mean,
there's so much mental energy that he's fatigued after 1 minute or whatever.
We're also like completely nerding out here and like getting into the nitty gritty. Like most people are like, yeah, whatever. He could just do stuff.
Yeah. Like I literally thought for like 15 minutes, like how was Cyclops sliding around? I mean, like that's ridiculous. You know,
in-depth analysis. This is like.
Yeah. Me and my son were in the car. We were talking about it, like working it through, like the physics of it. And I was like, "I'm a nerd. This is awful."
I love. I don't know. I love what Chet said about Morph turning into Sabretooth at the end there.
Yeah,
kind of showing the buddy relationship between Morph and Wolverine.
Yes.
Yeah,
and like so, Morph's kind of like Wolverine's therapist / spar partner. Like it could get a little kinky there.
And I mean that is consistent. That is consistent from the original show, right? Like Wolverine always had like a real soft spot for Morph, and so many things that are just like connected and thought back to that original animated series. It's amazing.
What do you guys think of Magneto?
Yeah, can I add one more thing too? I'm looking at my list here. I almost forgot. Just the direction. I know the director is gone, but the direction of the animation, obviously the action was incredible, obviously. But the little things I watched on second view, like when Jean goes into labor.
Yes.
And he's coming, and he's like, Mr. He said, Apocalypse, where is he? Who's coming? It's like the baby, and she just levitates his coat and the keys, and he catches them.
Yes.
That is just so clever. And whoever storyboarded that was the moment. And right that second, I said, all right, this is a different level. Clearly, they put a lot of love and energy into just breaking out how the scenes work. Clearly, whoever did it has a very cinematic, brain for it. So that was when I was like, all right, this is definitely different than the old thing. You guys say that the animation is similar. I know they were keeping a spirit, but clearly it's directed better. And that was one of my favorite moments.
Yeah.
It's when they were driving in the car, anybody else noticed the nod to now she gave Wolverine a convertible. Love it. Love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, like speaking of like animations, another thing I could get nitpicky about. Like what I did really appreciate is they've kind of they've used this sort of like painterly backgrounds. All the backgrounds are very similar to how it was in the original show. They have this sort of like textured painterly kind of style to them, which I really like. It's just the motion, the characters. That's where I feel the difference more than anywhere else. Is just like it's just hyper, more modern and like just stylized. It's a little more plain. It's kind of just missing that older texture that I liked about the original show. And I mean, I guess that's to be expected. I was expecting that having seen the stuff that came out ahead of the episodes. So it wasn't like a big surprise, but I do wish like there is just this particular way they did those original shows that I wish could be captured a little bit more in the animation. But on the other hand, you get the stuff like Mike was just pointing out, which was just that really great direction and the cinematic thoughts to how things play out. And so I'll take that as a trade-off.
Yeah. You use the word hyper, and I like that because I do notice that. Like, did you notice Jubilee when she was talking to Sunspot right in the first episode? She would like move her head slightly, and it was kind of like a quick shift, the way that she would move her head, and it something that I really noticed. And then also like you notice the pink between everybody's eyes, right there, and like when they would cry, like when their tears come out. I just love it. I just loved it. It drew so much emotion out of me. Voice acting was so good, and like I feel like I continue to trip over my thoughts about it because it just hits so hard and fast. I should have written notes the way that Mike did because it is all just scattered in my head and just clumped together.
Yeah.
You just reminded me though, Dan, the one thing that the first time I saw the animation was jarring was when Jubilee was dancing with Sunspot, because it looked so good. It almost like it rotoscoped. It was like they had someone dancing and they drew right over it and it was great. But the whole time she was dancing, I was thinking, this is completely different looking. It was odd. It was the first time I said, this doesn't look like the same style. Like,
you would normally probably just get a wiggle from the old animation, right?
The way her head was moving, it was very, it was great, but
yeah, no, I thought that was kind of a cool visual scene. And then she's using the sparkle, her little sparkles that she's got.
Yeah. I was thinking like, why did she no one cared?
Couldn't she be a little discreet? Yeah. But then I was like, let's just enjoy this.
Yeah. There's a whole generation of young people that if they watched it and the animation wasn't like good and new and different, they would be like, what is this? Because if you remember, if you go back and watch those old episodes, they're painful, particularly in the later seasons.
I love them.
I mean, the storyline, the soap opera is amazing. But
I'm talking about the early seasons, like the first 2 or 3 seasons. That's the prime.
Yeah,
I love it.
Meat and potatoes.
They were actually starting to change towards the back end of the original animated series. Like it did get a little bit more cartoony, and
the last season wasn't supposed to happen. It was supposed to end on season 6, whatever. They added one. They didn't have enough people or budget, so they just threw it together. And the last season's rough, guys. If you ever watch that animation, some of that stuff looks like we could drop it. Some of those episodes, it's pretty bad.
So, Bruce, you just said Magneto.
Yep.
And we have not talked a lot about Magneto. I see.
Is he good? Is he bad?
Dang it! I had the book handy. No, I don't.
Think that he's gonna remain?
I've got it. I've got it somewhere. But before we get into that, we've got to do another segment. Pages of X. Pages of X.
Hello, friends. West Coast Avengers says, to me, my X-Men. The Trial of Magneto. My goal has not changed, but my methods have.
You still seek the domination of the world?
My dream from the start has been the protection and preservation of my own kind, mutants. To spare them the fate my family suffered in Auschwitz. And do not tell me such a thing cannot happen again, because that is a lie. You humans slaughter each other because of the color of your skin, or your faith, or your politics, or for no reason at all. Too many of you hate as easily as you draw breath. What's to prevent you from adding us to that list? I thought I could impose sanity from above through conquest, but there are too many of you, so I decided I must try another way. I am the reason mutants are unjustly feared. That is why I am here. That is why I will abide by the court's decision. My hope is to make the world understand the reasons for my being. But most of all, to punish me for my crimes and no longer my people. Whatever my fate, you must still face the reality presented by our mutants' existence. You cannot wish us away. You cannot ignore us. We, Homo sapiens superior, are your children. We are the next generation of humanity. What kind of parent fears his progeny, tries to murder them? Is this the legacy you wish to leave? I have seen the error of my ways. Can you say the same?
Nice.
That was
wonderful reading, Dave.
Wow.
Thank
West
you
Coast
to
Avengers.
Dave from West Coast Avengers for our segment of Pages of X. And what a very poignant page from X-Men 200, The Trial of Magneto, which we got to see happen in episode 2 of X-Men 97. What did you guys think of that scene? How that played out? I thought it was awesome.
Incredible monologue all the time. Anytime Magneto has something to say, you listen. He's got something pretty profound. So I loved it.
I thought it was pretty pitch perfect. What I love about it is that you have what happens to Storm obviously doesn't happen in the Trial of Magneto, but he's great. he breaks, right, for a split second, and he has every reason to renege on everything he just said. He brings everyone into space. Spoiler alert. And his tear runs down his face, and he says, he's struggling, but hold him to what his word is. And he's trying to be a better person. That was the best moment of the entire episode, without a doubt, is that moment where he could easily just let them fly off into space, says, hold me accountable because I'm going to be a better person because of Xavier. That was pretty kick-ass. I thought that was pretty awesome.
It was.
Well, and they even brought it up in the episode. Rogue brought it up, how, she brought up the point of how am I any different? How are you any different? Xavier took us in and gave us a second chance.
Yeah.
Instead, you have to show it. It's not saying it's not enough. You have to prove it. And he did. That was the moment he proved it. That was cool.
And I love the juxtaposition between, the first episode establishing Cyclops as, not just the soldier boy, but the evolving into the leader, like the professor, and the juxtaposition of Magneto and how they play off each other is an evolution of Xavier's dream playing out. And Magneto captured the political landscape, right? I know Chet was saying something about but you have to understand when you read X-Men, the politics are built into it, and it doesn't have to be. We're using the fear of mutants and the X gene and everything, and humanities, that all of that, in place of the real world politics that we have to address every day in our own lives, in a way where we can see it and understand it on a deep level, on a personal level, a real level, and actually, just it gets us all thinking in our own way, and unites us in a commonality. It's just they captured that for me again. Like I started the show, my biggest fear was that they weren't going to capture the serious tone of X-Men, and they did.
But they did it in a way that it didn't feel overly preachy, political, you know what I mean? Which is what the way I think all entertainment should be, right? But it's also easier to do with X-Men because it's just so inherently baked into the story from the get-go, right? It's more of a human condition, right? That people fear what they don't understand, or they fear things that are different, and it's all about the struggle to get people to accept that, right? And that's just been part of X-Men since it started, right? And but it's just still poignant. It's just it's an evergreen topic, an evergreen sort of story that still feels fresh and relevant.
I think people get kind of caught up that they think the X-Men is talking about us, whatever time it is, are talking about a specific today political thing. And
100%.
It's just, what works about them in their DNA is that the allegory of the outsider group works in whatever decade it is. So if it was the 70s, maybe you were thinking more of skin color, and maybe if it was 15 years ago, you were thinking, LGBT, or whatever outsider group is today, they can kind of, their allegory works. So I think people get too caught, the January 6th imagery of the Magneto trial. I don't find that political. I find it historical. That's an event happened. We don't have to take a take on it. It happened.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really cool that they put that in the show for Magneto's trial. I thought it was pretty ballsy, honestly.
I didn't
it happens in issue number 200, right? There's a Riley.
It's part of the story.
It's already the whole time. At no point did I think of January 6th watching that cartoon.
Exactly. I just think this is all baked in X-Men history and lore. I don't need to make it part of anything else.
Did you guys not think January 6th? Is that what you're saying?
No, I didn't think it
during that. I couldn't help but my mind went to that. And
me too, Dan. That's what I thought of too.
Yeah. There was that guy with the buffalo thing that ran in it real quick. I thought that was weird, but I didn't put two and two together.
No, that wasn't in the cartoon. Get out of here.
But I thought, what was really cool about something I was a little worried about was how creatively as a writer, how do you kind of say the same thing over and over and over again? You know, it's us versus them. It's us versus them. And that speech in his episode, it was like they cut the buffalo up like so many different ways and from so many different angles. And again, it was a testament to the writing. And I don't want to give, Disney didn't make this. A group of people who love the X-Men put pen to paper with love and respect for these characters and this lore,
100%.
and they made the show.
I appreciate you saying that, Chris.
You know, don't
Bravo.
Mickey Mouse didn't have anything to do with it.
No, what Mickey Mouse did was not get his Mickey Mouse nose in the middle of things. He's
he
acting like
out of it.
You guys just go, you go cook, you know, like yeah.
Well, we've said this, guys. The ones that work, the ones that match the source material. The outline for all this stuff is done. Chris Claremont wrote it already.
The map is there. Just follow it.
That way, but they already have the cliff notes. You know what I mean? Like, it's not hard.
It's not hard.
There's have you guys seen this montage going around on Instagram of all of the I forget what phase are we in with Marvel? Is it are we in 5?
We're like 4 into 4 or 5. I don't know if we've officially gone into 5 yet, but
okay. Somebody has like clipped every single writer of like Captain Marvel, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Miss Marvel, every single one of this phase. Every writer and showrunner, they're like, I never read the comics. I don't have any interest in the comics, you know, and it totally shows. Where unlike this show shows the love for the old show and the characters, the Claremont, you know, X-Men comics, which I think is really a nice step out of this crap. Frankly,
it's a combination of bringing back a lot of people that worked on or produced the original show, as well as some like. And although he's been dismissed now for who knows why, but Bo DeMeo was a fresh writer essentially, but he brings, you know, a more up to date, modern writing acumen to the project. But you put that together with people who know what it's about, and he's probably also a big X-Men fan himself, and you can tell they definitely, you know, stayed true to the source material. And like Mike said, like we said earlier, it's paying off because it's good.
They did have the benefit of having 7 seasons before this. They didn't have to retell an origin story or have to force a lot of, you know, exposition in there, which is kind of great. You know, like Bishop and Gambit didn't really say much, but they don't need to because they have the benefit of several episodes. They'll come to the forefront. They didn't have to do that. They trusted the audience that they knew who these characters were for the most part. So that's a huge heavy lift off their plate. They can just get into the characters instead of having to rehash stuff over again. So
and they'll have their moments too, right? Like I'm sure there'll be a more Bishop focused episode, right?
Well, but why did it take so long for us to get X-Men 97?
5 years ago, like last week, they bought the rights to X-Men back.
Yeah,
and development takes a long time, and I'm glad they took their time. And Bob Iger's putting his money where his mouth is, and Feige, and like, you know, quality over quantity.
Yeah, good point.
And take all the time in the world.
Right. I think a lot of it too, what makes it work, like you said, Chris, is you're getting people that are passionate about not just a project, but the characters themselves. They actually have something to go back on, and you know, they know the characters. They have some kind of connection with the characters and the source material. So,
what's up, Travis?
What's up, Travis?
Hi, guys in the chat. Welcome.
Hey. We have to give an audible shout out to Dave, who just
yes. So
amazing reading.
Dave, I don't know if you saw it. We did the Pages of X, your incredible reading, like literally like 5 minutes ago. Thank you. We all very much enjoyed your rendition of X-Men 200.
Yeah, it was great.
We'll go to the AvengerCon this year. 420, baby.
Nice.
All right, sorry, Travis, welcome.
Yeah, Travis, since we got you here and you haven't had a chance to weigh in, how did you like X-Men 97?
So I'm coming fresh, right? I had watched no episodes before this, other than maybe the first.
Oh, right. That's right. That's right.
So I loved it. I loved how they kind of amalgamated everything from the 90s and then mixed it into the 80s. And it was really it really took, you could really see how Claremont stories could be meshed together to really build something different, but the same, unique and the same all at the same time. You know, something familiar for the fans and something new for people who had never seen it before. So I was impressed. I was really happy.
Yeah, we were just talking about like they stay close to the source material, but they don't have to, because, and Mike said it earlier, because they nail the characters so well, they don't have to do it exactly like it was in the comics, but it all works really well because they get the characters down so pat and true to who they are. And then they can play with all the different stories and do them simultaneously or do them in different ways, and it still kind of just works because they're doing the whole team, the characters, justice in the right way.
Yeah, I loved the X-Men 200 tie-in episode. It was, with Magneto in episode 2. Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, I was like, whoa, that's really cool. And then the whole, even bringing in, are we able to say spoilers? Are we okay beyond? Are we?
Oh, we're well beyond
doing that.
Okay, all right. Well, because I love that Sunspot's in this. That was one of my favorite moments. I was like, oh, that is so cool, because it's like, it really, really, it brought me back to the comic era that I mean, one of the first X titles that I really remember, especially under New Mutants, was Fallen Angels. Fallen Angels was my one of my titles. Was the title that I loved. It was one of those titles that just jammed. So it's silly. I know it's Brett Blevins, so it's not the greatest art or anything like that. But you really get to see Sunspot come out of his shell and become a different character. And I kind of feel like you get that from this story too a little bit. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was interesting, but completely forgot about him in the second episode, right? Like, because I watched them 2 days apart, so I completely forgot he was like the main character in the first episode. Like,
he was the Jubilee of the first episode.
Yeah, it seemed like they're going to do Night of the Sentinels with him.
Yeah, so maybe the first episode was more of like a fan service, like
I think it was the setup episode a little bit, yeah, and I mean, but a lot of the episodes in the original series were kind of
so jammed up.
They weren't always just they didn't all just feel like they went like one episode in the other always. But I think from here on out, we're obviously going to have through lines from episode to episode, because they've already now, Storm's lost her powers. They've got 2 Jean Greys going. Magneto's now in or is the headmaster. So there's
some material there.
Building, but the first episode was definitely like a launch. Like, we're gonna just do this is where the X-Men are at. They're still battling the same old problems with people who don't accept them. And 6 Sentinel fight. That's the first episode in a nutshell.
They jammed it in, yeah.
Okay, Cyclops' power set. Oh my gosh, I loved it. I mean, I'm an X-Men fan, so I've done, but I love that idea because it's the solid glass, the ruby quartz glass that he's got going on there. I loved his ability just to do stuff and jumping out and his saving himself from falling out of the plane. I mean, come on, that was just so cool.
That's cool.
That's a throwback to the Jack Kirby era of Cyclops. There, Josh. the thin Cyclops.
Yeah, you gotta get that skull.
Yeah, Travis.
Earmuffs. You gotta get the earmuffs for X-Men 97.
I love it.
The part when they're in the warehouse and they make him take off he's like, no, don't take those off, and then he shoots him. What is
not?
Okay, nice, but I think they're gonna wear on us. Like when Sunspot's like, "Page me," I kind of cringed a bit. I'm like, "Oh yeah, the '90s," and I had to explain to my kids why "not" is funny.
When that part,
I worry that's gonna wear thin like 5 episodes in. I'm like, oh, they don't sell the
Like, that was
I
my
hope not.
audible moment.
Yeah, when that part happened, that's when I woke my son up. Like, I couldn't help it. I was like, ah!
Remember that? Yeah.
Well, I introduced my daughter. I mean, she's new X-Men, but she didn't know any of this cartoon, so we watched them together. My oldest daughter and me, and my youngest kept coming in and out on certain parts of it. But yeah, so she was absolutely enamored with it too. We talked about because we're both artists, so we were talking about the art and the different styles of animation, what we liked, what we didn't like. You know, this whole controversy of Rogue's abs, I don't get it. I didn't see a problem with her body shape at all in this episode.
Well,
in fact,
I think the problem is that it's just not what it was in the 90s. Like that's the problem.
It's one scene, one meme has said.
Yeah. It's that one image of the one meme.
The apocalypse image, right? Like,
but the general tone is so different compared to the original show. I do feel like there is a different tone that they take, that you don't really take the original show quite as seriously. So having a little TNA is a nice little pleasurable, something to juice on.
It was just very 90s. Like,
I did love
that was very mirrored. Like, that show mirrored the comics, right? Like, it was Jim Lee, like, X-Men by the pool.
Yeah, it was an advertisement.
Big
Jim Lee's run.
Junk in the trunk. Party upstairs, like all that stuff, right? Like, and it was just mirrored the comics, and now that's not the most PC thing in the world. So I mean,
speaking of juice,
Mike, you got something you want to?
Okay, I guess we've gone over all the good stuff. I have a few minor gripes we talked about. Really nerding out here. A couple of bigger gripes. Okay, I know in the comic books this has been a thing in Age of Apocalypse and here, but it's creepier. There you go. You're going to talk about the same thing, weren't you? It's creepier now because clearly it's set in 1997. Magneto's clearly in his 60s, and she's clearly like 25, 30 at the most.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little weird. I don't know why it seems so weird. It doesn't seem weird to me in the comic books, but it seemed really jarring to me, and very soap opera, even for a Chris Claremont team.
Yeah, I mean, there is the whole like he died and he came back younger thing in comics, right? But like they have not established that in the cartoon,
I don't
right?
see posted anywhere.
And if you're someone who hasn't seen the show before and you're coming into it, you're like, oh, Magneto's a good guy, right?
Yeah.
But you have to be reminded that he's a bad guy and his creepiness with Rogue, because like I said before, I love the romance that Gambit, this player, can't touch Rogue, but he loves her anyways, and he has this romance with her.
Yeah.
And then he gets cuckolded by Magneto, this fucking creep.
Yeah.
And like Rogue should get it, right? But not for Magneto.
But Magneto is a grandpa with he's a pretty good looking grandpa, good looking grandpa.
He's cut.
Locks, he's like built and like
He's cut.
It's got that deep voice.
Yeah.
The gravitas.
Yeah. But, so my second gripe, while we're talking about it, he's a good looking dude, but guys, this uniform does not age. I'm sorry. It's still one of the worst costumes.
No.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because they did a good job on this show making it look better, and it still looks really, really bad.
Can we put a doodle poll
all the way up to the armpits?
Snap poll. Terrible or great?
Sleeveless. Why is it sleeveless? He doesn't have show muscles. He's Magneto. He's not Wolverine. He's all it makes no sense.
He's mutants have always been trendsetters and fashion setters.
I have one more gripe. Ready for this one? Sorry.
Yeah, more gripe. I want to hear
the show.
Yeah, let's lay it all out.
This is a continuity error. For those of you that watched the entire original series, why was Archangel or Angel in the picture of the original X-Men on Xavier's wall? Because although Iceman is established to have been on the team and left, Angel, when they first meet him, they've never met him before. So how is he on the wall?
Oh, interesting.
Easter egg.
I like that he's there.
Yeah, I mean, clearly
maybe it's a different universe.
Really, they're paying homage to the true origin of the X-Men, but yeah, there were definitely a lot of holes in the original animated series.
It's too far gone. I feel like
Probably.
to
I'm okay with them
the way that they
retconning
did
and saying, they did know who he was. They just didn't reference it. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
But for me, I did one of those. I got to look this up because I'm pretty sure they'd never met Warren Worthington III before when they first met him. The few times they did, and the fact that Morph so quickly changed into him as if he was familiar with him seemed odd to me. So I'm wondering if they're going to retcon a lot of other relationships like that, which I'm fine with. Again, if they're going to be bringing in Colossus and Nightcrawler, please do bring an Iceman. Keep that background that was established, and they can kind of reinvent it. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, like Colossus never wore that outfit in the original series, and he was never on the X-Men in the original series. Like he has the 2 episodes he shows up in, but like he instead of joining the X-Men, he decides to stay back in Russia for some stupid reason. So
he had a field.
It wasn't Juliano.
Morph turning into him. I mean, I guess it's not like a huge gaping plot hole or anything, but like they're paying more homage to the true Colossus versus the one that was in the original.
I thought you'd be happy about that. I didn't think it would trigger you this much, but I'm not surprised, actually.
I mean, I'm happy to see him, but it's just a reminder of the utter disrespect that my character gets.
It was the fastball special I knew you were going to be picked about. They had to manufacture a different kind of fastball special, and the whole time I was thinking, like, Ryan's going to hate that.
I didn't think of it as the fastball special. I don't know.
Neither did I.
Like
I was trying to figure out what the heck it was because.
Speaking of fastball specials, I just bought something that
I know what you bought.
Oh, I bet I know.
I knew you were gonna buy that. I knew you were gonna.
I put it on a payment plan though, so I'm paying it in installments, and then it arrives in the summer.
Oh dear.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you were gonna pick that up, Ryan. It was awesome.
When that got kind of shown out in the world, I was like, "There's no way I'm missing that." I don't care what. I don't know. I don't care if I have to sell my body. I'm going to get that thing.
What is it? Did you? You're not going to tell us?
It's not a big secret. Sideshow's releasing a fastball special statue with Colossus basically with Wolverine on his arm and throwing him, and they're coming out of a comic book. You can get 2 versions. The smaller version, he's coming out of a comic book, or you can actually just have it like a regular statue, and then the premium format one is bigger and more expensive, and that doesn't have the comic book. I got the smaller version just because it would have cost like an extra $400 to get the big ones.
Awesome. That's pricier than I thought it was.
Congrats.
And it's even pricier up here in Canada because we have with the conversion. So like it was like $1,000 for the one I got, and it's $1,400 for the premier format one that I bought. So sorry, I didn't mean to derail, but all this fastball special talk got me excited.
I'll buy it for you and just shoot it with a cannon over the border.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Oh man, wouldn't that be fun? We need teleporters. That's what we really need. Then we don't have to worry about all this.
I do want to say one thing about back to the Magneto costume, because you brought it up, Chris, in the chat there. Something that I do appreciate about his costume in this episode was it is a little disarming. Like his original costume is so powerful, and this one is very much different.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to just be part of his change to good, right? Like he's
in his David Bowie face.
I mean, I saw it as just like it's softer, it's cloth, it just feels a little more passive, and that spoke to where he was trying to come from. The way that the visuals can also tell the story, had been telling the story, is just like when Mike brought up about the key, Wolverine jaw dropped, not even looking, catches the keys in his hand. There's the way that the animation tells so much of the story, so much of the characters' relationships, without saying a word was something that I found very joyful.
Okay, so I got another gripe I want to get into. Not a big gripe.
No, yeah.
It's like partially good and partially a gripe. So I think we all love that they kept the opening, the X-Men opening. It looked awesome. It was basically the original, but the music's changed.
Yep.
And it's dulled down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not using the electric guitar the same way, and they don't have that bell, the dong. Like, there's just things like, man, why don't you just use the beautiful thing that they had already? Why'd you have to remix it? Like, I don't even think it didn't need an update. Like, it's just timelessly amazing the way it was.
Yeah.
That was one little minor gripe. I'm glad they still have it and they have the same opening and all that, but I would have liked something like way even closer to what it was in the 90s.
Josh, correct me if I'm wrong. Well, first, Ryan, you're not wrong. Like, they changed it. And I was like, right from the start. And then after that, I noticed it too. But like, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the original theme song was a ripoff from like a Turkish sitcom.
Yeah, they ripped it off.
So they had to change it up. It's like they had to vanilla ice it.
Okay.
I guess, but it's the same song. Like, it's just the instrumentation's changed. So like, you can't copyright instrumentation. I don't know.
It's like subtle changes.
They won the case in court. The court decided they were just different enough.
Oh, well then, Ryan, you're right. Fucking what the hell?
Throw that on there.
I think you got to have a little something different. I think it makes sense to change it a little bit.
I think it makes.
I don't mind a little bit, but I would keep those core elements that, like, it just slapped, man. Like that original, when that came on, like dun, 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 like it was hard, and now it comes in like kind of soft,
it's slow, right? It's
like I actually like started turning up my TV. Like I was like, why is it so low? Anyways, that was
I hear you.
Just a minor gripe, but music's hard. Music's hard to make everybody happy, and I'm glad it's the same tune. I'm glad it's the same opening. They did fix a few little errors in that original opening. You know that part at the end when the good guys run at the bad guys? In the original, there was this weird guy with a pink alien head.
Yeah,
Gargoyle.
Gargoyle.
And they had Warpath or Thunderstrike on the bad guy side. They've changed that now. They got Lady Deathstrike and who else was it? Lady Deathstrike, Emma Frost.
I thought it was cool that I like that they like played around with the opener in the second episode.
Yes.
So like in the first episode, Cyclops is first. He's the leader of the team. Second episode, Magneto's first. He's the leader of the team. And they had kind of those callbacks to old like classic episodes from the original series with like Bishop spinning around in his time warp, and I thought it was cool.
And Magneto wasn't even in the first episode's opening, right? Yeah. Which they're kind of, I guess, trying to like not reveal that he's gonna play a bigger role. I guess for the uninitiated prior to the release of the show. I mean, most everybody knew that.
Where every episode beginning is a different one. You know who the featured mutant is, like different place that you zoom to.
Yeah,
I hope not.
They did voice. They did pay a little homage to Mr. Sinister though in the second intro, right?
I think it's in both. It's it's with Morph, right? Yeah, because he's like I said earlier, like he's gonna be the main antagonist, I think, through this first season. So
and hopefully into the MCU.
I could dig it.
That's what I've heard. I mean, I rumors, but
pull out those 12 copies.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
I think Sinister's a hard character cinematically for like a one-off. He's too complicated, I feel like, to do him justice.
Yeah,
he really is.
But like, do you think it would be a one-off? I think he would be like a.
You'd have to be complicated. I mean, you'd have to do him any justice. You'd have to have him for multiple movies.
And I think that's what they'll probably do. But yeah, we'll see.
I see him as like a Thanos build-up type bad guy. You know,
Yeah.
we're talking MCU.
But I mean,
he's a perfect build-up to Apocalypse as well, because Apocalypse granted him his powers, essentially the X gene. So he's a great build-up to Apocalypse and doing Apocalypse correctly.
I mean, I always imagine him in the real live action as being like, what was his name, like Mr. Evil or the bad guy from Mr. Gadget, and they all just show his arms coming down, or the back was
get you next time.
Yes,
yeah.
I imagine they'll just have the close up of his face with the teeth, you know, and just show him a couple of times saying a thing, barking an order, you know.
It's my one really good impression is
Do that again.
I'll get you next time, Gadget.
How do you have two voices at the same time? That's awesome.
I've heard Bryan Cranston is openly put out there that he wants to be Mr. Sinister.
No way.
Yeah,
No,
he's said it.
An interesting one. He's a little old. But maybe he'd be awesome. I mean,
we'd be so lucky to have Cranston.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
Yeah.
He's got the humor enough to be evil enough, right? And patience. I mean,
I just want a British accent. That's my request.
Oh yeah, Nathaniel Essex.
He's British.
I just want that reverberation thing that they had in the cartoon on
Razor teeth.
Well, how did you do that reverberation, Ryan?
Right. That's just deep in my throat, man. I just get you. I don't know.
Practice.
Rest of the episode, right?
Mr. Sinister had this like in the cartoon, in the original animated series, he had this sort of like
serpentine,
like synthesized kind of reverberation to his voice. That like you can't really do an impression of. It's clearly like a synthesized,
like metallic. You mean like a metallic?
Yeah, like they put a reverb on it or some kind of filter on his voice. It's very similar to Amphibious. The character Amphibious had an even like more pronounced kind of effect on his voice in that animated series, and those were like two of my favorite voices in the series.
The Savage Land creature,
actually, and Apocalypse to me, like the way he sounded in the original animated series is just the way I think of him, like
yeah,
I am Apocalypse, like that. Just that huge gravitas he had to his voice was like they had so many good voices in that original.
You didn't like Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse? You didn't like his voice?
I actually, you know what? A lot of people crap on that movie. I'm not saying it's great, but I did not hate it. I just wish they would have done more. Like the fact that Apocalypse can like grow and like transform more. I wish they would have done that more in the movie, and they only kind of did that in that like weird.
They only did it once.
Dream sequence, like in the mine. I would have loved to have seen that like actually applied to the character.
I'm
but
pro bullying if we're talking about X-Men Apocalypse. Get rid of it.
Yeah, that's one where he did not get the character even remotely right. They just made up. He can make sand cut people's heads off. He just made up. They just made up. This is Apocalypse. It's not him.
But in terms of the performance, like I didn't think Oscar Isaac was bad. I just wish they would have done more with the character, right? Remember like when he started getting like he started ranting about stuff and the way his voice sounded, like I thought that was actually pretty cool. But and
Oscar Isaacs is like this big.
Well, that's what I mean. Like I feel like they should have
Thanos size. You know,
they should have given him the gravitas. You know.
Yeah, they didn't have that. They didn't spring for the budget on that one. You know who we haven't mentioned? We haven't mentioned Beast. I'm so happy to have Beast back. Like he's so disarming, right? And charming and like foundational in the series. And the recent iteration of the comic books, Beast is a bad dude.
Yes.
So I haven't read that, but I've heard, that he takes a little turn down the villain road. I'm very anxious actually to read that. But yeah, to what you're saying, like Beast, again, another character who's the voice actor came back, sounds pretty close to what he used to sound like like just a slight bit off, but it, like definitely still holds and feels like the original series. And then he's still dropping those quotes, those well read quotes, and yeah, it's definitely he's awesome in the first 2 episodes.
I do have a question about Beast though. Does anyone have a Marvel trading card nearby? What is Beast's strength? Because he picks up a Sentinel in the first
that
episode.
Was a lot of strength. I didn't think that's Colossus level strength.
He used physics that Sentinel was standing on uneven ground.
Physics.
Oh, he was standing on the glass, the sand glass that Storm made, right?
And Ryan, like you said, they were all rag dolls, so
they got ragdolled hard, man.
Oh, they were hollow.
They made 4, so pretty good.
I mean, I will say, like, even back in the animated series, the Sentinels always went down pretty easily, but like they went really easy.
Just like rag dolls into the air.
Yeah. They were made of like paper mache.
Yeah. It was super cool though. Like one of the coolest moments is when they like all were like Omega level mutant, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I like
that.
That.
Great.
And when they ripped the top of the plane off and you see the 2 eyes, my daughter went, "That's creepy." I'm like, yeah. That was a serious moment. After that, they were just like, yeah, paper.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's kind of something I know some of us have kids, or some of us have shown it to people who have never seen X-Men, and that's what I was most interested in. I was like, is this gonna play to people who have never seen this? Is this are you just like totally lost? Do you love it? Because my baby is like 3.5, so I can't really, you know, she's all about Paw Patrol. I can't really ask her opinion, you know.
Yeah.
When I watched it, go ahead, Mike.
I thought it was cool. Again, my son who was watching. My daughter, she knew mostly the characters, but she loved it. You know, especially the girl characters. She was confused. She had seen the X-Men movies. My wife, who knows, she's seen the X-Men movies and seen the Marvel movies. She was watching it, and her same reaction to everyone else. Wow, Cyclops is actually cool. And they actually used him. And she had no idea that like Magneto and Storm were that powerful. And that's like, yeah, that means they did them right because yes, they're gods basically. So that's pretty cool. And Wolverine, as he should be. Sorry, Wolverine lover. Sorry, Josh. He's just another X-Men. He should not be the main X-Men. He's a pain in the ass. And like in this. That first and second episode, maybe for the first time, related more to Cyclops, as you were saying, Dan. Like, yeah, I wouldn't put up with Wolverine either. What a pain in the ass. So I thought it was perfect. He shouldn't be the main character. I think we have a generation of younger people who believe he is. And I think it's good that X-Men 97 is doing what the original series did, and he's not the most prominent one.
I can appreciate that.
Cyclops. Yeah.
Interesting.
And for my wife, so I watched it with my wife and my daughter, and my wife... I mean, she knows like basic stuff about the X-Men, doesn't really understand. So she had a few questions about what's going on here, but generally she said she loved it. And my daughter, who is 6, said, you know, when I would put it on, I'm like, I'm going to watch my show now. And then, because we're always watching, you know, her shows and stuff.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't want to watch. But then like after the intro, like she didn't say a word and she was just glued.
That's awesome.
I don't know what she thought, you know, but she watched the whole thing and didn't complain once after it started. So.
Wow.
Yeah. My 8-year-old, she hasn't really seen a lot of the MCU content, but she's been hearing about X-Men since she was, you know, can remember. And I remember we both ran to the house after I picked her up, like raced to the house to watch Daddy's big kid show. And she was so hooked. And it's like through her enthusiasm, she like would be like, "Oh, and what's this?" And I was able to give her the show background and also the comic background. And we started speculating on. She's like, "What's up with?" She was also very disturbed by the idea that Jean Grey shows up. You're not pregnant. And like, you know, in the dreamscape earlier with Jean Grey really threw her off. So that was her speculation afterwards. She was really thrown by that. And we got to get into the whole, like, you know, comic book saga. So, and I just hope that there's a whole generation, you know, people who don't know X-Men are now like hooked, and it just sweeps even my inner fanboy hopes that everybody loves X-Men.
Yeah, me too. I hope it makes it blow up.
It's on the up, man. We're on the rise.
Yeah.
Council of X is here to cover it all.
Well, I had my kid is like 3.5, and her speech is like a little bit delayed, but she loves Spider-Man and Hulk and Batman. But I almost cried because Saturday morning she saw that, I think it was like maybe the intro on YouTube, and she's like, "Can we want that like X-Men?" I was like, "Did you just say X-Men for the first time?"
That's
And then she's like, "X-Men." I'm
yeah.
like,
oh. Yeah.
And then she loves Paw Patrol, like naming them all. So the intro is like right up her alley, and she's like, "Wolverine, Storm," and I was like, I'm gonna go cry in the shower. I'll come back.
Chris, proud dad moment, Chris, was after we watched it. We didn't have to watch it again. Instead, my daughter silently went over to the Echo Dot, and she said, "Echo, play the X-Men '97 theme."
That's
I was like, I've made it.
Made it.
Yeah.
Indoctrination complete.
Right, exactly.
Love it.
Though my daughter was like, "Daddy, when they did the January 6th stuff, that was just too close." The political landscape just doesn't allow for things like this to happen at this time.
Right.
Daddy, the show is so woke.
Yeah.
I just gave my daughter "God Loves Man Kills." She loved it. It
yeah.
It's a nice, safe reading.
That's a read.
So I didn't know that Rogue could absorb the power of a human and then gain their skills.
That's pretty
doctoring
cool.
part. But I was totally chill with it. It's just like, whatever. I'm not even going to question it because that's what my whole life with comics. It's like, oh, they can do this because of this, and I'm just like, you know what? Whatevs. It's all good.
Yeah.
But that was a super emotional moment for me because I think it was backdropped with Magneto's monologue then about humanity being able to work together, or rationalizing his points of view up to that point, and how man, they just hit so hard emotionally for me.
That scene too, when Cyclops is getting his butt handed to him by the executioner, and all of a sudden Jean Grey's having a baby, and he's like, "Peace, I'm out of here. I don't care that I was having my ass."
Yeah, I mean, like, if you think about how many X-Men went to Jean, like, Wolverine, Jean, Rogue, and now Cyclops booked it, and then Storm gets shot with the thing. Like, so
says that at the end. He felt
okay,
that.
He does.
I have a question.
But he's not the only one bearing the guilt on that, right?
So
like,
Cyclops,
a lot of
Summers. Yeah.
So with Storm getting shot by the weapon, since I don't really know, is there an episode previous to this that has Forge in it?
In the original cartoon, Forge shows up.
Was it in the future past issue or episodes?
Yeah, he's one of the guys. He's the guy who sends Bishop back in time to set the future right. I don't know if we ever met Forge in the real time.
He's the leader of the X Factor later.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah.
I wasn't sure if he was actually in the series prior to this because if you know that weapon was made by Forge, right? So
yeah.
And so we have this whole thing and that's the whole connection between Storm and Forge. So I'm hoping we get some of that because I mean
they could find a way to work in that, like, Forge's technology went into some of the Sentinel development, because that gun kind of came from, or the collar development, because that gun came from the collar technology, right?
Yeah, I don't think it'd be hard to bring.
So yeah, there could be a connection, but I have a feeling that she's just going to meet Forge, and Forge is going to be like there for her, and then there might be a little love story before she gains her powers back. Or,
me and Eric can hold them both up back to back.
Right. I would enjoy it.
Honestly,
I do think definitely there is going to be Forge. I think I've seen a still of him in a future episode, so he's definitely
an
going
opportunity.
to
I'd love to see Forge in the MCU too. I feel like they could do so much. He has such untapped potential.
There's a lot of fans for Forge that I never knew.
Oh, he's awesome.
Like I always just thought it was somebody who I recognized until I got onto Instagram, and I hear there's so many people who love Forge. So
yeah, Forge is like one of my favorite X-Men.
The most underutilized X-Men character. I think
For
it's
sure.
so much potential that's never. And the cool thing with him is, like, in the story, he has untapped potential. That's what's kind of the irony of the character for me. He just can only make weapons when actually he should be able to make anything, but he's kind of stuck. And it's sort of like in real life, it's almost like a meta thing. He's kind of a one trick pony when he really should be a lot more.
I love that. Do you mind? I mean, sorry, we can continue talking about this, but I would love to talk about
annuals
as well.
I got one more thing. I want one more thing
please.
to talk about, and I've been kind of waiting to bring it up. Why is Magneto allowed to touch Rogue, but Gambit can't?
So I think I can answer that.
Travis, do it.
So Magneto is able to put a field around her, magnetic field around her that allows him to basically touch her. Get close enough that it's almost touching.
What was that, Chris? I didn't quite see that.
I saw that, Chris.
A magnetic shield.
Condom.
A magnetic shield. A magnetic condom.
Well, if you actually think about it, like our molecules, like the smallest, nothing is really touching. Like I'm doing this, I can feel it, but it's not actually really touching. So because comics and physics,
I never touched
her.
I will say they didn't make it clear in the cartoon.
No,
not at all. You see the sparkle when he holds and grabs her hand. You see like a little electricity. That's him manipulating the molecules. Yeah,
I thought it was just a spark. You know, like
of love, the spark of love.
Yeah, like I mean, like I saw that, but it didn't make it clear to me. That's just my perspective. Yeah. But I appreciate you guys talking about it because that
Magneto has lots of
a little hidden Easter egg.
Magneto has tons of powers like that, where they always say he can manipulate things at a molecular or an atomic level. He gets away with all sorts of crazy stuff that doesn't kill a normal person. That doesn't
like astral projects on his second appearance. It's weird.
Right. Makes sense.
Well, I missed. Am I supposed to have annuals ready?
That was we're talking. We were gonna veer off into a little talk about annuals, just annuals we like or our favorite annuals, and then just show off some annuals from our collection.
All right. Can I run and go grab some real quick?
Yeah. We'll just jump into it, and then you can scoop up some books. There's only so many you can grab, so I'm sure we'll have plenty of overlap from our PCs here.
Well, I mean, I'd like to start. I'm not great at like synopsises of the stories. But my favorite annual is annual 11 right here. The reason why I love this one so much is the reason why I love X-Men. This one really highlights all of their kind of mortal fears. All of the X-Men. So basically, like most annuals feel like they're kind of an encapsulated story. It doesn't really need to go along with what's happening in the regular series. And in this one, they get transported by this character. I think his name's Horde. And he's basically super powerful. They use all their powers. They can't beat him. He wants them to, the only way that they can live or like allow humanity to live is by stealing this crystal from inside this like castle or something. Anyway, when they're in there, they realize that this sort of structure, or maybe it's the crystal itself, I don't remember exactly. But basically, they start to face their biggest fears or their biggest like failures in their lives, and they so for example, Rogue sees herself as somebody who never got to really be like go to the party and be friends with people, and she always was like an outcast. And Dazzler, was I really like Dazzler's thing is like she was either going to be like a law professor or but she always kind of felt like she was she always wanted to be like an entertainer too, but like maybe her true feelings are like just being a nobody and setting her expectations low and not becoming getting into law because she was afraid that if she ever could never meet those heights, or rather that she would prefer to be to have no expectations because then she couldn't fail. Anyway, they all go through a different fear that they experience, that we all, I think, experience. And it really made me feel for each and every one of the characters and makes us kind of realize how, man, these superheroes are so powerful. They have it all, but still they have things about them that where they see themselves falling short, just like everybody does. And it just made me relate to the characters and makes you realize how much they lean upon each other to be the X-Men, and how we all need each other's support, and how we all have, issues that we're trying to deal with and trying to get through, just to make it through our own lives. And I just really dug it. It was a really fun little, and there's a really sweet moment where Storm and Wolverine kiss in it. And she's just kind of like, hey, if there's ever a day to die, like, I'm glad
we're going out kissing.
Yeah, it was nice. It was just a lot of like touching little moments that I really appreciated. That's it.
Beautiful. How are we supposed to follow that, Dan?
Yeah.
I butchered that. I feel like you got to read it though. Like it's a quick read, and it's a really touching story.
That's beautiful.
I'm gonna jump in just because I got him here. I don't know if I'm not sure what my favorite annual is. I thought a lot about annual number 3, which was I think the first X-Men annual I ever read, but I don't actually have a copy. But I did find this one, which was 4, which was the next one.
Cool.
And this is a really cool story that's basically plays off of Dante's Inferno, and the X-Men along with Doctor Strange kind of go through all the like levels of hell. And I can't get into great detail. I'd have to reread it. But it's all kind of centered around Nightcrawler, and like he the devil's basically trying to like trap all these guys in these different areas of hell, and they go through these crazy different trials, and it's quite a wild story.
Jesus, is every annual the same story? They all get put into a thing. They have a trial. They all have,
it's the longer format, so they can actually give everybody a little something. But yeah, no, I mean, it's not. It's just different levels of hell and stuff, and it's a pretty cool story, and it's very cosmic magic with Doctor Strange too. So it's and I love the cover. The cover's really cool. So thought I'd throw that one in the mix. I got more, but we can we'll go around more.
Go next because you stole the origin story of my favorite character.
Oh no! So Mike, you should probably talk more about that. You could have interrupted me. Sorry, man.
You were doing great. This is the original. We all know it's been retconned 1,000 times. Origin story of Nightcrawler, which is why I like it. Yes, everything you said. Dante's Inferno. They go to hell. It's not really hell. It's actually his adoptive mother, who's a witch.
Right.
Blah blah blah. I love it. It's got Doctor Strange. It's got Nightcrawler. It's fantastic. The only creepy part about it is at the end, Nightcrawler finds out his girlfriend is his sister, which is fun. That's
very
fun.
Star Wars-esque.
Very Star Wars-esque. But yes, this would have been my favorite pick. But since I'm already here, we'll jump with 8.
And they don't break up.
Oh.
No, they don't break up. No, he's like, what a happy day. My sister and my girlfriend. Only time I'm like, Nightcrawler, come on, man. What are you doing? Weird. I'm sure one of you has 8. I love 8 because it's X-Men in Asgard, and we have Storm. Look at that awesome homage.
Yep.
Right? To the first story there with her own weapon, Stormcaster. And I was going to ask, whatever happened to that weapon? I think she gives it back at the end of it, but she should have just held on to it. How cool would that be? She doesn't need it, but I thought it was cool.
Very cool.
Dope. Who wants next?
I can go next.
All right.
The ever-loving X-Babies.
Yes. I was
Very
hoping
cool.
someone would have that.
You know, so for me, all the Arthur Adams annuals are the best. I love his art. It just they always pop, but these specifically jump out at me. I love this particular one, the whole Mojo world and everything that was going on with it. And for whatever reason, I realized that I don't have X-Men annual number 9. I used to have it, but I don't know. Oh no, I don't have number 10. Oh, that is 10.
This is 10.
Maybe it's 8. Which one do I not have? I was just going through my pile here, and I thought I didn't have one. Oh no, I guess I have them all. Anyway, but the I don't have one. I don't have annual number 1. I don't have King Size X-Men number 1. King Size Special number 1. Anyway, but this one I loved it. I love the story how the New Mutants get their X-Men costumes. They get to be the X-Men, and they get to save the day. And the X-Babies are brats that they have to deal with. And it's like it's just a great fun story all around. I haven't read it in a long time. I have to admit that it's been a while, but yeah, I love this storyline. And Art Adams definitely for the win.
I think that might have been the first annual I ever bought for the X-Men. Was that one?
Yeah.
I just remember it being a big deal with the X-Babies because that was the first time they did them.
Right.
Who's up next?
I can go next.
Was that Josh?
Yeah. Okay. Here's that king size annual number 1, which I recently picked up. Which kind of, and Ryan left a comment on Instagram saying like, "Oh, annuals aren't part of the actual run." I was like, "No, man." So I think that's what kind of started.
I'm kind of changing my tune. I kind of want all the annuals.
Depends on if you have them or not. Yeah.
I just expand more and more. Like, oh yeah, I want the Claremont era. No, now I want the Silver Age. Now I want the reprints.
Yeah.
Now I want the
his and hers was like, you completed your X-Men run. Now you got to get all the annuals. I was like, oh shit.
Unless they're reprints, unless they're like reprint stuff, they usually the story matters. So
yeah, this is kind of honorable mention. It's a reprint of X-Men number 9, where they first meet the Avengers, and they end up in like a Bavarian town to fight Lucifer. So there you go.
Isn't that cover though like where it's like kind of separated there, the bottom third with Xavier down on the bottom? Isn't that like an homage to number like 20 or something like that?
I think it's number 9. Like you have the Kirby top and then another 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is what I was thinking of. This is 20, but I don't have 9. So, but I think you're right. Yeah. I know what you're talking about now. Thank you.
Here's a honorable mention. Just really great.
Yeah.
Just covering kind of like sexy. I love me some Storm covers. So
that's a great book because it's a 2-book story, right? It starts in the main run and then it finishes basically in that
this one.
That's the one.
I did not realize that. Oh, there you go.
In that, huh?
I mean, they're not like back-to-back stories, but they like the annual is builds on basically Storm's first run in with Dracula. It's definitely a great dual story.
Eric, I had a couple more.
Actually the one I was going to
we'll come back. We'll come back. I just want to give everybody a chance to show one.
Yeah, this one was the one I was going to feature. I love this art in this. I love the story. I mean, the story is a little weird. It's, one Van Helsing is left, and if I remember right, the X-Men are friends with them, and she has this formula to basically eliminate all vampires in the world. So, yeah, Dracula turns Storm into a vampire. He turns the rest of the X-Men into vampires. They got to battle Dracula, and yeah, it's just good fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
Love that.
Anyone else? Chris?
I was like, no, don't do it. Don't.
Oh, you're
14.
No, don't do
I was
it.
waiting for somebody.
Somebody has to do
I
that.
waited. I was like, I
got it. I got it ready.
Yeah, but I mean, this one, it's I mean, it's the obvious. I thought it was the obvious pick, but first, I don't want. Here
It's the
we're
most
gonna.
valuable, right?
Yeah, definitely out of the annuals, right? We can get into some arguments whether it's the first appearance of Gambit or the first published appearance or whatever. But
you put that to bed in your video, man.
it's over.
To me, your video on the first appearance of Gambit is gospel for.
I appreciate that.
Quintessential.
I'm still arguing with people in the comments.
Oh man, you nailed that. You nailed that, man.
Yeah, and I just like this one too because I just will never forget asking Claremont about this issue and just completely pissing him off with the question.
That is so cool. I love that.
Like he's like, oh no, that's not the first appearance. Like, oh, sorry, I got salty, Chris, today. But yeah, that one, and one I know it's not uncanny, but it's worth like $3. It's worth nothing, and to me, it has like the best cover. Annual one, I just feel like it
didn't need to be uncanny,
Yeah, I feel like this one gets no love. It's no love, and it's got this great cover.
I mean, that's the most X-Men 97 cover,
Oh yeah,
got, right? So
for sure, and it's got this
rad.
great little pinup. I like this one has some like nice. There's a nice little mojo.
Oh yeah.
That's a great one.
And it's
got like a bunch of little like art splashes, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the little gallery in the back with some extra. Oh, and then it's got this beautiful Savage Land robe.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna get a strike, Ryan. Ryan's getting a strike on YouTube.
Oh, not monetized. We're no longer monetized.
Those are mine.
Lovely, great choice.
Lovely. Who wants to jump in with some more? I got more.
I got more.
All right.
We all have more.
We all have more. So let's go back to Josh. I know he had.
Oh, okay. Yes, what's great? I love the X Babies.
Love it.
Wonderful honorable mention, and it's a long shot coming into the X-Men. I know he had a solo series, but this is the first time I realized he had 3 fingers, which is fucking weird.
Oh yeah.
It's weird.
4 finger at the guy. Yeah.
This is the book that turned me on to Art Adams, and it's so hard to find like a clean copy of this with the white border. But this book is just so bananas. Like even the Starship Enterprise, comes in. Like Art Adams was just on crack, and I love it so much. Just everything about it.
His line work is amazing.
Yeah, and first not appearance of. But okay, so this goes a little outside the bounds, but I consider X-Men Unlimited an X-Men Annual. They're essentially the same. And this to me is the most X-Men 97 book for me growing up. Like this was amazing.
It literally came out in 1997, didn't it? That one?
No, I was really in that.
No.
Yeah.
Gosh, I love that one.
95 or 94.
Yeah, and it's just like, it features a lot of my favorite characters. But I just love how it opens up, the dislocated shoulder is mercifully numb, and he's all fucked up, and it's great. And there's even like a potential sex scene with Storm and Cyclops in it that's pretty controversial in my mind. But yes, this is like this here. God, if we're living in a simulation, the simulation has been perfectly designed for me right now.
Killer.
Yeah,
I don't think I've read that one.
It's great.
Yeah, Josh,
It's been a while. I think I read it when it came out.
For those of you that haven't read 8, it is bananas. It's unbelievable. So you got to read it.
Who's up next?
I'll go. So going back to X-Men Annual 9, I think you can't really talk about 9 without talking about New Mutants number. Wow, I'm really bright right now.
Try the other side. Try putting it up on your. Yeah, there. No, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, hang on here.
Oh, there you go.
That looks good.
Tilt it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, you can't really talk about Annual 9 without talking about New Mutants Special Edition. I mean, here we go. It's the whole Asgard thing and what kind of led into that 9 issue. And then, of course, there's also the X-Men Alpha Flight crossover that they're all Asgardian, all that stuff. And I have all of them. I didn't bring Alpha Flight X-Men in here, but this one is Art Adams at his best. And I love this issue, and it's so amazing, and I think it really fits.
You can really see, like, that's magic, right? Like doing that.
Yeah, it's magic and oh my gosh, my brain was playing.
Warlock,
Spain up there, and Warlock.
Yeah, killer. Yeah,
and it's a wraparound cover too. So
looked like
I'll pull it out.
Brandon just said in the chat that the X-Men 97 comic should be out. Are they coming out with a comic?
Yeah, number 1 came out this week.
Really?
Yeah, so here's the wraparound to the back. You can see Storm up here in the background with Loki and Enchantress.
So basically what they're doing, sorry to just go back to that comment, they're basically restarting X-Men Adventures.
Yeah.
But it'll be X-Men 97. That's
cool. So each issue will be one episode of the actual
It'll
show.
probably be like how Adventures was, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know
if it'll be every episode is one issue, but it'll be kind of following the cooking.
Thanks, Travis. Sorry to.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that wraparound cover in Art Adams is awesome. That is great.
Yeah, I think so too. You're right.
Wait, what's it about?
I like the
well, fine. If we're gonna I'll just keep going with Arthur Adams. I mean, then there's this one, right? With the X Babies. You got High Evolutionary. You've got I don't know who that dude is, but I don't remember it, actually.
That cover, that's a classic like Wolverine pose or Arthur Adams drawing right there. Now I'm not sure if he just like swiped that from his other previous drawings or something, but I feel like I see that little icon of Wolverine, in a lot of places.
Well, I think it gets reused a lot. I mean, the Colossus gets reused a lot, but this happened during when the X-Men team had all died, right? They were all in Australia, outback, hiding out, right?
Yeah.
And Mojo's freaking out. He's down here freaking out. Where are my X-Men? I need my X-Men. So the X-Baby, they get the X-Babies to come back to save the day for his network. I remember that part of it, and don't remember what this giant creature is, because clearly the X-Men are standing down there below it, and I can't remember what it was. But then you also have the Evolutionary War going on as well. So I mean, this was kind of like this one is had a lot of storyline going on in it all around, and but again, Arthur Adams amazingness. So.
Yeah.
And Dan, I wanted to tell you, I that issue 11 is one of my favorite X-Men issues as well. The Mcron crystal, the scene where Wolverine touches the Mcron crystal and gets restored. No, there's no other story that ever has touched Wolverine's regenerative powers in any way like that. So that's just one of those ones.
It was really like selfless, touching.
Eric, you look like you're chomping on the bit, so
more. I'm gonna try and go different. So I pulled a lot of different ones out. Here's one I got. It's a little more recent. It's from X-Men Gold. It was a
Excalibur.
Oh, nice.
Little Excalibur 1 homage.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Certain cover.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then this one I thought was cool. It's very different because it doesn't go this way. It actually went this way. So the spine is right here.
Yeah.
And this was actually the first appearance of Zorn.
There you go.
Oh.
So this one was a pretty cool one. The art, with Grant Morrison, and there's really cool art in this too. And then some close to my heart because I was a little kid when these came out. X Factor #1 annual. Very cool to see the Soviet super team there.
Oh yeah.
The OG X-Men. And then this one's for Mr. Akins, who's in the chat.
Yeah, Mr. Akins. What up?
Good old John Byrne.
Latuma.
During the awesome
That's a great
Adventure
cover.
Attacks crossover. This was when the annuals were doing a lot of those crossover events, and most of them were not all that great. And we always felt compelled to get every single part, even if it was a book we didn't collect.
Yeah.
He looks like the Easter Bunny from Donnie Darko.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
He
totally
does.
Yeah.
That hand reaching out, desperate clutching. That's great. Love it.
I just found something for Mike and Ryan.
Yeah.
That's your team, guys.
Is
that's the
that
classic.
the Pride? Is that the Pride of X-Men or whatever?
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the Pride of X-Men? Oh,
That's the basically the precursor to the animated series. They did this pilot. It didn't land, and it never got off the ground. But it was the seeds that started the animated series. But then they changed the team.
I liked that one, and
It's
that's
one
the cover,
Australian
that's,
accent away from being one of the best X-Men things ever made.
Yeah, Australian accent just murdered it. Yeah,
That's it.
That VHS tape cover was that's the classic X-Men Arthur Adams.
Yes, it is.
Yes, yeah. Anyone else? I got some. If nobody wants to show,
You go, Ryan.
Yeah.
All right.
Go for it.
So, I got that one too. Showed this one already. Beautiful book. Love that one. Got that one. That one. But then I got this has got to be the ugliest annual cover.
Mike
Magnolia. Yeah.
No, yeah, Mike Magnolia.
Like, it's so bad. Like,
I think this one, Ryan. I hate this one.
Yeah,
It's
I got
so
a bad
bad.
angle for you too. Yeah,
Eight's bad. Eight's ugly.
7. I don't like 7.
7's a weird one. It's really a weird one.
With the Impossible Man there. I like
Yeah.
that.
16. Part of the Shatter Shot.
Does anyone have the one with Executioner on it?
Yes.
I don't have that one. I'm looking for it.
18.
I have 2 copies of it. Are you?
I don't know who
Do you
did
need it?
18 there,
Well,
Ryan.
I'll find
on
it in
that
the
cover.
wild.
But it's got to be the same guy who did all the art for the covers of the Adventures of X-Men. Right? It's got that same.
Yeah,
There
it's
it is, Travis.
very 90s. It could be. I don't know. Does it say?
There's that one, and then I have a polybagged one.
There's no signature on the cover, so I don't see it. I'll look later.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I mean,
very nice.
Yeah, first Silo.
there you go. Yeah, for
important annual number
that's
2.
good.
I also really like this one.
Oh, yeah.
King size annual Marvel team up number
Yes.
1. This is the
Underrated.
Team up.
Underrated and undervalued.
Great cover.
I need to pick me up a copy of that.
Little
Yeah.
Nightcrawler,
Second Phoenix.
The team I love. The team I love.
Is it second?
Yeah.
Really?
Didn't know.
Now,
Phoenix.
I pulled it out because it's technically not an annual, but like I feel like the giant size are.
Hey, any excuse to show that off, buddy. Please bring it.
Beautiful.
And then another important annual to X-Men is that one.
Yes.
Oh.
First Rogue. And last but not
Talk about the worst cover ever.
I like it. I like it too. I'm with you, Mike. Got King Size Special number 2.
Fun.
That was reprints too, if I remember right.
I think so. This one's
It is.
Yeah, another reprint.
this cover. I got like a huge tear in it. I don't know if you can see it.
I love the X-Men logo though.
Yeah, it's so different looking.
It's very
I like the
Warren
dash,
magazine style.
The dash is weird.
I don't know what the. Yeah, this looks like it's like a reprint of
It's in the 20s, wasn't it?
in the teens. I think I don't know.
Man, I've seen several books that I don't have here tonight. This is
I
Gotta write them down
a little bit. FOMO is
That's why these are so dangerous.
Yeah,
A couple
Right,
of
That's the whole point. That's the whole point, man. See something you like, you gotta lock that in.
What was the issue number of
nice
yeah.
got a foreign.
with Spider-Man?
Travis, I was hoping someone would. I couldn't remember which book I have that has the card in it.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's the Executioner one.
Oh, I have that one. I just didn't pull that.
Ryan, can you make me big here?
It's Marvel Team Up.
Is this the one you were talking about, Bruce?
Yeah, Marvel Team Up Annual. What's
number one?
Number one.
King size annual number one Marvel Team Up. Yeah. Spider-Man and X-Men. Yeah, that's right up your alley. That's your.
I got to get that.
Yeah,
that's a great series.
Yeah,
that Marvel Team Up. It's a great series.
Dan, you wanted to
go off. We're going off a little bit off the rails here. So the X-Men special, it is just screenshots.
There's one I gotta get.
Screenshots from the Pride of X-Men. It is just the Pride of X-Men. And I remember, like, look how bad is literally like a screenshot. But they had this at my book fair when I was in, I think like third or fourth.
See you, Troy.
And I was this was like one of the books that they had there that I was like, I must get this at the book fair. My parents paid for it, right? So love cool. that. This isn't the same copy. I had to I'm trying to re-get all of the issues that I used to own as a kid.
Yeah.
X-Men and beyond, Flaming Carrot, stuff like that. Now I also got this art print, it's a
it looks like a cell.
Yeah, it's like a cell that I got a long time ago. Maybe you guys can tell me what it is. I've heard it's they call it
it's a production proof. I got one for Mon for Man Thing.
So
that's how they used to do it back in the day.
Yeah, so cool. You mean they would throw this on top of
part of the printing process, right?
Yeah, the printing process. That's how they used to proof it back then and make sure everything looked good before they sent it to press.
Okay.
How many of those how many of them are there?
A lot of them didn't survive, actually. So having that is a big deal. A lot of them were destroyed after they were basically said, okay, go to print.
Yeah, and just throw it away.
Yeah.
You'd call this reproduction art or production art?
That's actually original art. Kind of. It's reproduction of the original art, but
yeah, it's definitely, if it is an original production cell or production, whatever you want to call it, I don't know what the proper term is. It could be one of one.
Yeah, that could be one of one.
That's
Dan.
cool.
Oh, right on.
Dan, do you know what page that's from or anything?
It's from issue 106, I believe.
Oh wow!
If you give me a second, I'll pull out.
You could pull up the original and see if there's any differences.
That's cool, man.
You can compare that to the actual page, and sometimes you could see the differences because they may have done some changes.
Very cool. I've never seen that before. A production proof.
All
Rip
right,
it out.
Okay, there it is.
Very cool.
Let's hold this side by side here.
Yeah, it was before computers and all that stuff, Xeroxes and.
Very cool.
Dope, Dan.
Stuff was done differently back then.
Never seen one of those before.
Yeah, I had no idea what it was, but I think I got it around the same time I accumulated most of my collection in 2010 or so. It was just one of those things that it was on. I only bought auctions. It was all dopamine. What's coming up in the next 5 minutes, that I can bid on and get that feeling. And, that was one of the things that original something art, and I was the only bidder, kind of a thing.
That's cool.
What the hell is it, right? But yeah.
Cool,
Oh, never mind. It's not X-Men related, but I do have another. I'm not going to go get it, but I have another one that's color like this for the. It's that one page from Dark Knight Returns where the guy walks into the theater with the gun, the porn theater. If you remember that.
Oh yes, yeah, I do.
I mean, who hasn't walked into a porn theater
with a gun, right? Am I right? Yeah.
Sometimes what is this, the story of my life?
Right.
All right. Get out of here.
Oh,
and look at the time, guys.
Travis, you're on mute. You're on mute, Ben.
There we go.
Were you also
Can you
going
hear
to
me
make a
now?
masturbation joke?
Yeah.
Or?
No, I was just saying, if we're going to show Giant Size X-Men 1, we should show Giant Size X-Men 2.
Nice.
Yes.
The worst iteration of costumes for the X-Men, but it looks pretty great.
Well, and there's Cyclops blowing a hole right through the head of a Sentinel.
So-
I think it's great.
Has anybody read that? Is that like retelling a story from the Silver Age, or is it a reprint kind of thing, or like?
Well, let's find out.
Yeah, it's a reprint.
All right. Yeah, Travis, take it away.
Because if it's number 2, it came after
Stormy Night.
GSX1, which is once they've already started the new Claremont era, which is kind of interesting that they'd go back to the old team.
It's
They were doing a lot of giant size at that time, though.
yeah. This goes back to Polaris. Like, looks like a Polaris, the Neil Adams issue with Polaris in it.
Oh, this one.
So yeah, I think it's
There's 3 in there.
49 or 50.
Yeah, 57,
Hey,
58, 59.
I'm looking in here and trying to find if it says it in here on the reprints courtesy of, but does it tell us what issue?
The internet says 57, 58, 59.
Yeah, so it's
Okay,
57,
so that's a little
58,
later.
59.
Yeah, Polaris was already pretty established by that point. But
But
cool.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful Neil Adams art. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome. It's always nice to open a comic book this old with this era of art in it and go, wow, you know what? I can see how it inspired the future generations to be artists and doing the artists that we have today. So,
Yeah.
yes.
One of the only regrets I have is that Dave Stevens never did any Rogue X-Men anything. It's too bad.
It is.
Dave Stevens, so hot right now. Dave
Dave
Stevens.
Stevens is
So hot.
right now.
So hot right now.
Finished editing a video, come out like next week, where I talk about it. Because I went to a comic show and like
just picked this up.
everybody was buying it.
Yeah. Vampirella also very hot right now. Very hot.
Yes. I don't see why. I don't know what the appeal is.
One of life's great mysteries.
Like, what's
I wonder if-
Victoria's
I
secret?
wonder if Vampirella and Dave Stevens is really popular amongst the
Fantastic
female portion of the comic community. Just curious,
Are people still into EC pre-code horror? Because that was huge a few months ago. Still huge?
Here's the thing. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but I think Dynamite or someone is restarting EC. Oh, not
wow.
Dynamite.
Publishing company.
Let me
It's an
see.
independent company.
The company that's doing that does Rick and Morty.
Okay.
IDW?
No,
No.
Oni?
Oni Press?
Oni. Oni it has the rights to EC, and they're going to do a whole EC line.
I would love a comic, like a modern comic that comes out that tells like 3 horror stories. Like you don't need to know anything. It's just like, here's 3 quick little stories, like Black Mirror style or whatever. Like that would be really fun to pick up.
Isn't that Ice Cream Man?
Kind of.
I don't know. Is that an
I
ongoing
think that tells
series
one
though?
story,
That's
but it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah. He's like the Crypt Keeper in that series.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, they're like compartmentalized stories.
And it's twisted. You'd like it, Dan.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give that a read. Cool. I dig it.
Well, we've
Gone off.
veered off into independent and horror, so we're not talking X-Men anymore. So that might be it for
Show's
tonight,
over.
folks. Anybody want to jump in with any last things or just updates? Channel stuff, IG stuff, whatever you might want to promote for yourself or others.
Dan turns his microphone off.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys have saw my most recent drawing, but the slap. I'm going to be putting up a poll. I already have a couple ideas of what's going to go in that box there, but I'm gonna give the community a little more time to come up with a better answer, and I still got a little more work to do. And I'll be working on this, putting another video out this by the end of this week. And as a note, which I will, there's going to be a video coming out because I talked about it on my channel about me, going through the last week of school. I graduated. I got my bachelor's degree. I am now am an official cybersecurity person.
Hell yeah!
Congratulations, Trav.
So Travis, the paint work that you do, like with shading, it's an awesome job. Whenever you add that layer to it, it really blows me away.
And Travis, it looks like Dan is about to cyber hack you right now.
Did you invite the Unabomber?
The Unidaner.
Yeah, you better know your shit, bro.
APB out the kids and comics.
It's anonymous.
The Unidaner.
We are anonymous.
Somebody's got to take a screenshot of that.
You're too funny, man. Oh,
yeah,
man.
do that again. Oh
man. Trav, just one. Is that drawing or piece of art? Is that for someone or is that for you? Just curious what.
This is kind of my first piece that isn't really intended for anybody. I did. If you saw Between the Lines last Monday, I was on Between the Lines,
right.
And this is the drawing I started on Between the Lines. Late because I got really into talking to people and totally just was sitting there and thinking, I wonder when we're going to start the drawing. And I went, and it dawned on me like I was supposed to start the drawing when the
show started
at the beginning. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to ever do one of those covers in 1 hour? I mean, come on.
Well,
a couple other things that are coming up. I'm going to be working on a Nightcrawler. I have a Storm that's been venomized that I'm going to be doing. I have Wolverine and Doctor Strange that I'm putting together, which is an odd pairing, but it works. And then a couple other ones too. So I've got a few. I have a Batman I'm working on as well. So I have about 5 sketch covers that I'm getting ready to do, and those are all for people. So
nice,
awesome. Well.
Cool.
Good luck with those.
I just wanted to say that I'm really enjoying dabbling in everybody that's present's different content. And you guys really inspire me to not start a YouTube channel. I don't have to.
Dan?
I don't have to. No one wants to see this when I can see all of you guys. You guys are amazing. And yeah, it's just really great. And Mike, I just got to say, just because it's fresh, you and Ricky are amazing together.
A1.
Oh my God. Like we need more Ricky. Than you.
We had fun. You know, the best part, as I said, this guy's like hanging out with them all day. You know, again, like you have a personality online, kind of. And Ricky definitely plays up the comedy side. That guy is just a big old teddy bear. My goodness, what a wonderful person he is. Just
he is.
Yeah, just one of those people I just want to hang out with him again, just sit down with him, and it's funny. And then he's quick with the one-liners, but he's a lovely human being, and I highly recommend anyone to check him out. Anyone listening to this, he's pretty awesome. All Sorts of Words, the name of his channel. I should point that out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a great time with him. Can't wait to hang out with any of you guys. I can't wait. Meeting someone in person is fantastic. So
yes,
summertime's coming.
Yeah, I hope we can all meet at Terrificon and get a picture together.
Oh yeah.
That'd be awesome.
And if you're not going to Terrificon, I hope that we figure something else out some other time.
Yeah, we can cut out little cardboard pictures of you and put it in the.
That's an idea for me.
Yeah.
Sooner rather than later, it'll all happen.
Oh yeah, of course.
Dan still owes me coffee. Next time I go to Beaverton.
Oh yeah, that's right. See, me and Travis live like I don't know, maybe like 30 minutes away or something, or 2 hours away. And I told all these guys like, hey,
he lives in Milwaukee.
I'll show you a good time. And Travis was like driving through. He's like, well, you show me a good time. And not you, Travis. Not you.
I'm driving right here. I can exit right there and get to you.
I'll be there soon.
It's one of those you're going to turn off your camera and walk right through that door, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Yeah. Have you guys you've met in person before though, right?
You know what? As much as I've met with Bigby a few times, me and Travis have never met in person. No.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
we actually
met
each other at the Rose City Comic Con. I mean, the first time we see each other may be at Terrificon, right? Or like on the airport on the same airplane or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I get to hang out with Josh. That's obviously I see Josh all the time, and then I got to hang out with Ricky, who's in Maine. Bruce is also in Maine, but Bruce, I could get to freaking North Carolina before I got to you. I'm pretty sure.
I know, Mike. Yeah,
you're as far away from me, and you can still being in New England technically. I guarantee you, I can get to Ryan faster than you. I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah,
we should map that out. That'd be interesting to see. That's how north. That's how up north Comics is.
Very up north. Yeah.
He's the north. Are you? You got to be like. Oh no, we mapped it out. Rohan's actually more north than.
Yeah, the way that the U.S. is
weird, but yeah.
I still think I'm way more.
You're at the very height of the United States of America.
I'm at the four corners. Yeah.
Yeah, but Rohan's only like an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and a half away from me. So.
I guess it just curves up, right? Like, it's
the way it works. Yeah.
Anything else, Eric? What you got going on?
Eventually, I got a video coming out this week. It's a crazy weekend, college stuff with kids, so I'll get it out eventually.
Cool. Mike, you've got stuff coming all the time.
Yeah.
Anything specific?
Because I have everything made. I just stagger it and drag it out so I don't kill myself on those weekends where I don't want to do anything. I have a pretty busy spring, so
it's a good way to go. Good way to go.
Getting excited for the eclipse though. I'm heading far up north, Bruce. You're getting right in the line of it, so I'm heading up north for some totality. Pretty excited for that. So
it is totality right over there, huh?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Same old.
And Chris, any sales coming up? Anything?
Thursday live sale on Instagram. I got an X week.
Nice.
All on accident this week.
Oh baby.
I got a Gambit. I got a Rogue.
Oh, look at that. Some fire.
Oh, can never have enough of any of those.
It was all converting from different places. This was all from like a bunch of different places.
All books Dan needs one more copy of.
SideQuest just picked up a big book from me last week.
Ooh.
First Guy Gardner.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Nice when the council is, moving and shaking amongst each other. I like it
lately.
I'm very grateful for SideQuest lately.
Really great chat tonight too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every time you guys are bringing it.
Really appreciate everybody who watches. Even if you're not in the whole time, we appreciate whatever time you give us, and we're happy that you can make the show even better with the fun comments.
Oh, yeah. And questions. Always coming in with really thoughtful things to say.
Really appreciate that.
That can really change the way that we what we discuss. So I appreciate that for sure.
A couple of us have a claim sale coming up.
I was just going to say, I was going to throw out April 14th. We don't have time and location stuff quite nailed yet. But a few of us, Travis, Bruce, Dan, and I, and then a few others.
Collecting Casually,
JP
from Absolute Demon Nerds.
Yeah, we're going to do a claim sale, a joint claim sale that'll happen that day. That's a Sunday?
April
Sunday.
14th. It's the Sunday.
So we'll be coming out shortly with some more info on that. But
that'll be fun. We're all new at it. So expect us to make some mistakes and grab some deals or something.
Yeah.
Something's going to go wrong. Probably, from us. So
right, kids. And on my channel, we'll be back with the Council of X within the next couple of weeks. I'm sure we'll have more X-Men 97. This will just be probably a topic we could keep
prelude
back to, but more X-Men stuff. Of course, it won't be all animated series stuff. And hopefully we'll have some of our new faces join us or Bigby or whoever. So looking forward to more of those. And I don't have any specific videos to plug, but there'll sure be. Actually, this week's actually my 1 year anniversary of the channel. So I will put out something for that. And so 1 year on YouTube. It's going good so far.
Your recent videos have been so creative. I love the commentary with the wall. I mean, like, we all love the wallet, but you've really gone to the next level recently.
Yeah,
thank you.
Raising that bar.
Yeah,
I liked your intro so much, Ryan. I had to show my wife, and she loved it. I'm like, you got to see how good he is. So
the last one on the
top 10.
The top 10 grails. Yeah.
Taking the shower, crying.
Yeah. Travis, it looked like you wanted to
commitment, man.
Well, I just wanted to say that I'm about halfway through everything coming up to the fall and rise of Fall of X, Rise of Powers of X, and so I ran into some walls as I was reading and realized that wow, some of this stuff is just not necessary, which is always what happens when you read everything just to try to read everything. You run into the wall and go, oh yeah, why did this is a pointless story. It has nothing to do with anything. So
yeah,
it's interesting. I'm getting ready to chomp at the bit to talk about it. So I am I was blown away by something they did and surprised by something they did, because I thought, okay, they made it out to be this one thing, and then it totally. I don't want to go into too much detail. I know the comic's been out for months, so it's not the one I'm talking about. But man, I can't wait to talk about it.
Yes, we'll need to create our own, episode just so you can fill us in on that.
I'm down to get down.
Well, I mean,
stuff. I have my grapes too.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Josh had been reading it too. Eric, were you reading it as well? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So like, if you guys want to do a show on current stuff, we'll coordinate it. And I might not have a ton of say, but I'm happy to push the buttons. So.
Well, they're about to revamp everything, and my challenge is that everybody starts reading the new X-Men. Because it looks like it's going to be maybe not so good. So let's commiserate together.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna buy Uncanny anyway, no matter what. Mm-hmm. Just like I buy Amazing Spider-Man right now, no matter what. But now that there's going to be an Uncanny title again.
Once again, Colossus nowhere to be seen. So
we'll see. We'll see. The X-Force coming out.
Yeah, they're doing him dirty right now, man. I don't think you'd like what's going on with Colossus.
All right, well, we'll get to that in another episode. Guys, thank you very much for joining tonight. Had a great time. Awesome chat. And I hereby call this session to a close. Thanks for everybody. Thanks to everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.